Our clip channel is at 850 subs right now. We're pushing for 1,000 to start 2023. Feel free to subscribe. Let's get this thing going. I'm going to throw to you here, Adam, because I know before we hit record, you were kind of making a list and checking it twice. So I'll let you to get to that.
All right. So I've come up with, and just save your strong opinions for the end, because I know Craig, Scott, you might fight me on some of these here, but I want to do a winners and losers of this Daulton Varsho trade. So right off the bat, I'll just get this out of the way. I think this is a win-win for both teams. I think both teams upgraded. Both teams got some real valuable assets there. So Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, both winners. Daulton Varsho, winner in this trade. Anytime a good player goes to a good team, that is good for them. Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk, winners in this trade. They're sticking around. They have some long-term-ish security with a contending team. That's good news for them. Gabriel Moreno is a winner in this deal. He's not going to be with a contending team this year. However, he's going to play more than 20 games at the big league level. That's a certainty. I think he might fight for the starting role right away in Arizona this year. So I do think that's a good news situation for him. Lastly, for winners, I have Ricky Tiedemann. Didn't get traded. There was lots of talk of him being a piece of a package and getting shipped out. Glad to see he's still with the Blue Jays. He's got to be happy to be a part of a winning organization as well. So there's a winner. As far as losers go, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is a loser only in terms of this deal. I think he's a great kid, but good player, was a part of this core for many years, and now he's going to have to watch this core compete for World Series without him. Best of luck in Arizona to Lourdes. I have Cavan Biggio as a loser in this deal and this offseason. I'm still a big believer in Cavan Biggio. I think he can get it together. However, this is a lot more
without playing time.
This is a lot more left-handed bat lineup for the 2023 season. So I think the opportunities to just put Cavan in the lineup out of necessity just to balance the lineup aren't going to be there. Defensively, this team got better. I just don't, barring a case of bad tacos and him filling in to cover injury time, I just don't know where he fits in the lineup in 2023. And then lastly, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates are a loser in this deal as well. I just think with that's one less team bidding for Brian Reynolds. So I think the price goes down on Brian Reynolds, although I don't think he gets moved at all still this offseason. But if he does, I think the price goes down just because there's one less team in the market for him, which in a hilarious turn of events, if the price does go down, would annoy a lot of Blue Jays fans when they see the Yankees get Brian Reynolds for less than we paid for Daulton Varsho. So that's my list of winners and losers. How are you feeling, Craig? What do you think of this trade?
That was such a good list. That was so good. I'll add winners as Shapiro and Atkins, and I say that because Shapiro and Atkins, I'm firmly on record on the Walk-Off podcast numerous times that the Blue Jays have never been in better hands than Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins. Now, as Adam has pointed out many times, now that doesn't mean they're batting 1,000, who is batting 1,000, right? What regime is batting 1,000, right? So we can for sure point to things, Kikuchi, like we could for sure go down these roads, yes. But one criticism that I would absolutely levy at Shapiro and Atkins is a complete inability to draft and raise and develop outfield capital, outfield prospects, outfield goodness to come up and produce on the big league level. Now, all of a sudden, Daulton Varsho walks in the door. Now, he's not that prospect, right? Because he's 26 years old. But contractually speaking, he's that prospect, right? Controllable for the next, 4 seasons it is right now? Mm-hmm. So that is the young up-and-coming bat that they haven't been able to produce and draft themselves. They do that from a position of absolute strength. We knew one of the catchers was going. And for us here, we mentioned many times on the Walk-Off podcast, if you're one of the 17 billion subscribers that Scott was mentioning earlier, then you've heard us, and growing, then you've heard us mention before that this offseason, Teo and or Lourdes were being traded. So we had our eyes open that both may go. I know it's still a little bit of a surprise when you actually see it, But just from, again, Shapiro and Atkins, they're not in charge of the 2023 Toronto Blue Jays. They're in charge of the Toronto Blue Jays. And adding somebody with this level of contract control going forward, I don't know of a trade. Man, I've been racking my brain. I don't know of a trade like this in Toronto Blue Jay history. And the only comps I've seen were the McGriff and Fernandez for Robbie and Joker. Well, I don't even see that as a huge comparison, because that was multiple players. That was the team that if they hadn't made that level of a move, they weren't going to be the perennial contenders that they turned out to be. If the Blue Jays entered the 2023 season as is, they're already going to make the playoffs. They're already a playoff team.
Yeah.
So I just don't. I don't see the comparison. I think this is a completely unprecedented trade in Toronto Blue Jay history. And the last thing I'll say, Adam, a year from now, you will be adding the fan base to that list of winners. The Toronto Blue Jay fan base is going to follow. Right now, it's so fresh, right? What? Teo and Lourdes? What? It's so fresh. At Christmas? What? Wait till they see Daulton Varsho innings 1 through 9 between the lines of a baseball diamond. It's going to turn some things around for Blue Jay fans.
That's a great point.
And I think this is one thing. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's a great point. With Daulton Varsho, I think he is such an unknown commodity that is a real factor in the sting that some Blue Jays fans are feeling right now, because obviously Teoscar was a fan favorite for a lot of fans. Lourdes Gurriel, very popular among the fan base. So to see two of the most charismatic, fun fan favorites out the door for some guy who's been playing in Arizona that nobody knows who he is, looks like a tight end. Is this guy even a baseball player, right? But he's very much a baseball player, and I think 2023 is going to really open some eyes to who Daulton Varsho is now.
Yep.
You really touched on what I was going to say there, Adam, and I love that. And it's just that, we're Blue Jays fans. Most of our time spent watching baseball is in the American League. And when we are turning our heads to the National League, it's normally for the playoffs. And so a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks, who's plugged into the Diamondbacks but the biggest nerds out there? Like almost nobody. So I think that this Blue Jays fan base is going to fall in love with Daulton Varsho. The dude is a gamer. The amount of ground he covers in the outfield. I mean, I've been watching those compilations of him catching balls in the outfield, and it's so exciting to watch a dude cover the amount of ground he covers. And I know that everyone is concerned about the offense, right? You watch Teo go out, you watch Gurriel go out, and you're like, well, is this going to hurt so much that they're not putting up runs? But think about the run prevention. And this is not something that people like to give a lot of credit to, because it's probably the least shiny part of the game. It's the least fancy. It's the least exciting, like watching Daulton Varsho run into foul territory and make a sliding catch for an out that most people would just be like, okay,
all right,
one out, third inning.
Let me jump in here because this is a hilarious topic. I've got an eye on the comment section all the time. There's so much toxic positivity. I love it. But there is sprinkled in there a few trolls. And the people who poo-poo on the defensive value that Kevin Kiermaier and Daulton Varsho bring to this team, I see you, and you're the same people who also poo-poo on how bad Bo Bichette is defensively. So, like, what are we, like, pick one. Does defense matter or not? Because it's a direct confrontation. I also just want to, while we're on the topic of the comment section, when we signed Kevin Kiermaier, a lot of Tampa Bay Rays fans came to our comment section and did not speak highly of Kevin Kiermaier. Good luck with that head case. Was a lot of the comments we got from Tampa Bay fans, which surprised me. However, when we traded for Daulton Varsho, probably 24 comments from people who are like, Diamondbacks fan here, you guys are going to love Daulton Varsho. So, for whatever that's worth.
I'll add one last little thing here. Number one, Adam, great job with that winners and losers list. I loved every second of it. I did want to just push back a little on the Lourdes Gurriel Jr. being a loser in this scenario. I think that the opportunity for him in Arizona to have a big year going into his free agent year, I think that there is an opportunity for him here to maybe have a big season that he wouldn't necessarily be given the same sort of opportunities in Toronto, especially with how much this front office has put effort into balancing the lineup and creating more left-handed bats. So even if Gurriel stuck around, let's say he wasn't part of this trade, he's still going to see less time on the field with this Blue Jays team, especially being designated as an outfielder only. And one thing I heard out of Arizona is, imagine if they start trying to use Gurriel a little bit more in the infield, which he does have experience with. Now, we all know as Jays fans that experiment didn't work very well in Toronto. However, again, the Diamondbacks are a bad team, and it is going to give a little bit more leeway for them to do things with Gurriel that maybe the Jays wouldn't have done.
I just mention as well, as far as the fan base concerned about the offense, that's the fan base of the team that scored 9 runs on their way out the door, correct? So first of all, offense didn't seem to be the problem all season long. That's A. And B, I'm going to take you back to the 3-day trade deadline marathon we did right here on the Walk Off podcast. We talked all day on that trade deadline that unless it's a Soto or a trade turn, like unless it's somebody, superstar, there's nothing that could walk in this clubhouse that improves the offense more than Slim Daddy Vladdy being Slim Daddy Vladdy. This was a good season for him. This was a good season for a lot of players, I should say. This was an unacceptable season from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And Bo, instead of putting one good offensive month together, go ahead and string 6. Go ahead for the whole season, Bo. If September Bo is 2023 Bo, then this decrease of offense is not going to materialize itself. George Springer having a full season, this decrease in offense is not going to materialize itself as much as people are concerned with. Alejandro Kirk had a terrible second half. If he's closer to that first half hitter that the Jays put in the cleanup spot, then this loss of offense is not going to happen.
For all of you watching, thank you so much. It means the world to Adam and I. The community that has been built around this freaking little podcast, it blows my mind. So thank you to all of you. A very happy New Year and Merry Christmas to everyone out there. If you want to help us hit 1,000 subs before 2023, it would be greatly appreciated.